spoken before about your penchant for the music, and this is your mastermind topic, which I'm not going to ask you questions on, but Taylor Swift is your go-to.
She is.
For, is it dancing, music, lyrics?
I just love her lyrics. I think it's sort of poetry, and a lot of people relate to different life stages she's been through. And I do quite often have her music blasting when I'm writing particular characters. Not that all my characters like Swiftie, but there's usually at least one character per book that is a Swiftie.
Virgin Radio.
What a pleasure to welcome to the top of the tower. Can I say an old friend at this stage?
Yes,
Yeah,
you
thank you,
certainly
Adele.
can.
Our guest has published 24 books in 31 languages and got an MBE for services to the world of literature. Congratulations. That was a couple of years ago at this stage. But your new book, or at least the paperback version, First Wife's Shadow, is out now. And that's great. But Adele Parks, happy birthday!
Yay!
This very day!
Very day.
Congratulations!
I know. So what
You're out of your 30s now.
I'm out of my 30s,
Wow.
just squeezing into my
Next bit.
Yeah.
How are you feeling today on your birthday?
Well, but it's definitely taking second place to publication. It
Yeah.
just is. People keep saying to me, "What are you doing to celebrate?" I'm like, "I'm talking about my book." But that is my book is my writing is my life. I love talking about my book. But yes, if everyone wants to make my birthday really lovely, go and buy my book today.
Yes, so
that would be amazing.
Yeah, to give to Adele, you need to get
give
the book.
Yeah, and that would be giving to yourself
It's
as
a treat,
well.
it's a
a
treat.
treat. So let's do that.
Just to put into context, the last time we spoke was in a tent of sorts in Carfest. It was a big festival in August. And as you reminded me when you came in the door, you bounced in the door. You're in great shape and great form.
Thank you.
And you bounced in the door and said, "Do you remember the rain? It's not raining today." What was that?
Oh, it was unbelievable, wasn't it? Because bless, normally Carfest, it's really good weather. Yeah. And it was for the rest of the time. But the one afternoon we had our interview, it was just torrential. But it was great because everyone came into our tent and we had a right laugh.
We had a captive audience, didn't we, Adele?
Yeah, they couldn't go anywhere.
They
would have drowned trying to escape.
I know, we could barely hear each other talk. The noise of the rain on
and
the canvas.
And we're loud.
And we are loud. but also we're both book nerds, and so we're never going to be short of something to say. And
exactly.
So congratulations on the new book. Well, tell everyone about it for those who haven't heard it about it yet.
Okay. So it's a psychological thriller. It's the lead voice, I suppose, is a woman called Emma. She's in her 40s. She's a CEO of a wind energy company. Really sorted, really disciplined. Doesn't want a relationship in her life. She's got friendships going on. She's godmom. She's sorted. Then, to tell you why she's so, and this isn't a spoiler, it's in the first chapter, why she's so sorted is she comes from this very tragic, chaotic childhood because her father was an alcoholic, and unfortunately, while under the influence, he killed himself and her mother. Mm-hmm. So that's her reaction. That's why she's so determined to be the most rational, most in control person ever. And that's working very well until she meets Matthew, who's younger than her, poorer than her, but a widower, and she just knows he gets her. Yeah. He understands her grief. He's been through something terrible too. And they click. And it all sounds wonderful. And you might think you're, reading a romance until everything starts to go wrong.
Adele, I never thought for 1 minute I was reading romance. I can see what's coming around the corner.
Twisted, isn't
it is twisted. But also, talk about zeitgeist. The younger man to the older woman is all in these days, Bridget Jones. I mean,
why wouldn't you?
I mean, why wouldn't you? Emma's one of your favourite books. If we go back to Jane Austen, isn't she? I mean, it happens to be the main character in your book, but that's just a coincidence. It's a common enough name, but it's nice that she's there or thereabouts.
I think the thing about Emma, Jane Austen's Emma, that I've always loved and admired is she's a flawed character, isn't she?
Yes.
She's meant to be the heroine, but she makes such mistakes of judgment, mistakes of her own. Her abilities and her control. And actually, if I was drawing parallels, that is very much my Emma too.
Yeah.
But the nod in this book is the first wife, the dead wife, is actually called Rebecca.
Oh,
so there's a different
Daphne
nod.
du Maurier.
Yes.
Well, we're covering all the angles there.
We are. All the literary references I can get in.
But I love that because it's homage to the writers who formed you as a crime, one of the great crime writers of our generation. It's great. You're not afraid to say that's a nod here and that's a nod there.
Absolutely. I mean, I think to be a writer, the first thing you need to be is a reader.
Yeah.
And I've read all my life. I was really lucky. I was in a kind of household that had books. Not all Daphne du Maurier and Jane Austen. A lot of Jilly Cooper too. Just so we're honest.
Well, it means that you're a woman of the world,
Absolutely.
Adele. I mean, it's not
and I know how to
you're-
entertain.
Yeah, my mother says sometimes when she sees somebody, particularly a fella with a certain face that looks like a Mount Rushmore face, and she says, well, he won't die wondering. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Isn't it good? And I think there's sometimes that you have to read everything in order not to die wondering.
I am going to use your mum's expression.
Do, she'll appreciate that.
Fantastic.
But these books are important. If you go back another time, you described before this teacher reading Charlotte Webb into the class.
Yes.
And I think that is why teachers, I mentioned them earlier, are so important, because little did that teacher know that among his or her charges was this person was going to sell millions of books, and if that teacher hadn't chosen to pick that book up at that time, and so on and so forth.
Yes,
it is
yeah.
remarkable, isn't it?
It is
What was her
remarkable.
name? Can you remember the teacher?
Mrs. Hodgson.
You see, this is the key.
And I do remember. I remember all my teachers.
Do you?
I do. I loved school. I know, SWAT.
Shock.
Yeah, I loved school. I felt it, and I remember to that Charlotte Webb conversation.
Yeah.
I remember so clearly where I was sat, listening to the words, listening to the story, being confused by the story, then understanding it, and thinking the rest of the world wasn't really as important as that story, and that 15 minutes every night, after, at the end of the school day, was the most important time of my day. Yeah,
That's
it's
giving me
huge.
goosebumps, because
Yeah.
it just of how important that was.
Yeah, absolutely huge to me. And I talk about it a lot now. I work with the National Literacy Trust, and I
Yes.
talk about it a lot now to say that everyone can help on this. Everyone can read to, if you are a reader and you know other people who don't like reading, don't judge them for it. Just keep buying them books. Letting them borrow your books. Just suggest something else they could read. Give them the chance to find the book that works for them, because that's the fun of it. Because once we do read, it's really good for obviously it's our mental health, our empathy, our education.
Slowing down.
It's great.
Slowing down.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. And just chiming with what you're saying, Adele, I don't like reading. I say, you do. You just haven't met the right book yet.
That's exactly
Isn't that what
true.
you're saying,
Absolutely,
essentially?
100%.
And you just need to. So I always kind of go with shorter books to recommend to people
I
who
do.
say they haven't read for a while or
Yeah.
something like that. Just so you don't give them Dostoevsky and say, try that, and what's wrong
No,
with
you absolutely don't. What you do give them is First Wife Shadow.
I think First Wife Shadow as a beginner to say, you're such a pro. Is this your first rodeo?
Not quite.
Stay with us, Adele Parks. We're live at the top of the tower. First Wife Shadow is out at the moment. We're talking about that. And you will add this to your 3,000 books at home. I always mention this too, because people go, she has how many books? Where do you put them apart from the shelves? And are they organised in a certain way? These are the
Oh my
questions.
gosh, you're going to judge
Do you have a
me.
ladder?
I've got a ladder.
Okay.
You're going to judge me though. So first of all, this is the good news.
Go on.
I have an entire room devoted to books. So
Yeah.
I call it my library.
Fair enough.
Other people call it the room where mum goes to put her mess. But anyway, that's what I do. This is the bit I'm going to be judged on.
Come on. There's no judgment here, Adele.
I colour coordinate my books.
How dare you?
See, there was judgment. So I can't defend it, and it's actually a really useless system because you can never find a book you want.
Does it make you happy?
It makes me so happy
then
because it
don't
looks
defend it.
pretty.
Yeah, well,
It looks pretty.
that's it.
But my books are a couple deep now. I've got these beautiful shelves, really, really fat shelves. But my husband actually built those shelves,
man.
but they're double deep. And I have to say, it's book in, book out at the moment, has
Yeah.
to be, which breaks my heart. But it's good for other people that get to read my old books.
Oh, I just think book spines on a shelf are the most beautiful piece
They
of art.
are,
aren't
they are, and especially when they're colour coordinated.
Well, you can do that. We won't agree on that necessarily. I got fiction, non-fiction, but that's probably just man going, roof, throw them on
Yeah.
the shelf. I mean, to be caveman. Do you have many signed books? Do you go for a signed
I do
book?
have a lot of signed books. So throughout my life, when I've done events, and obviously I've been doing this 24 years, so I've done a lot of events with other authors.
Yeah.
And so I, at the beginning, used to ask for signed books because the other author was so much bigger than I am. And now I ask for authors to sign books because I think, they might get massive. And also they need the sales because every author ever at a signing is desperate for someone to buy their book
Of course.
and sign it. So I always try and do that if I remember. But I like a signed book. I think you know that they've touched it. I know how much time and effort and thought as an author goes into a book. So the idea that they've actually touched it and handed it is a sort of form of communication, a form of
Yeah.
of sort of passing. This is my view on a little slice of humanity passed over to the reader.
It's a communion
It
of
is
sort.
a little bit, and I love that.
I'm going to ask you to sign my book in a minute, but if I give you this red pen, are you as disgusted as I am? I have a different colour, but do you think signing with the red pen is outrageous?
I don't think I've signed with a red pen before. I don't think I have a view. I think it's fun.
I think you look like you want to defenestrate yourself straight away from this studio.
I do sign. Normally I have my own little pen, but I haven't got it with me today, so I'm very happy.
What colour
to
is it?
you. It's actually a deep maroon.
We're not far
So
off.
it's not far. That's why I was thinking.
We're
Do
on
I need
brand.
to judge?
Okay.
Yeah. Do I need to judge? Yeah.
I don't know if I can give
It's
you a
sort of
red
a deep
pen.
maroon, which I sort of thought was like blood and good for thrillers.
No,
you know?
yeah, that's a great.
That's why I
That's
had it.
That's okay. At
Yeah.
least I have that to fall back on. Now we've spoken before about your penchant for the music, and this is your mastermind topic, which I'm not going to ask you questions on. But Taylor Swift is your go-to.
She is.
Is it dancing, music, lyrics?
Lyrics. It's lyrics. I think the woman's a genius. I
Yeah.
mean, obviously, I'm not alone in thinking that. Hilariously, though, because, I just love her lyrics. I think it's sort of poetry, and a lot of people relate to different life stages she's been through. And I do quite often have her music blasting when I'm writing particular characters. Not that all my characters like Swiftie, but there's usually at least one character per book that is a Swiftie.
And the music's playing loudly as you're writing. You can focus on the two.
Only when I'm doing a certain thing about a scene. So if it's sort of wanting that character to let go, nearly all my characters have a tune. Yeah, no, they do.
So will you change the tune? So if you say someone's, I'm just saying
I don't know,
Beatles or Rolling Stones,
Scouting for Girls or something
Yeah.
like that. It's usually something a bit different that's very particular to that character.
Great.
But it's usually at the most emotional scenes of that person I will have their music playing.
and that fuses you.
Yeah.
Because I know someone like John Connolly, the writer, has had sometimes brought out books and with the CD that went with it at the time.
That's so
which
cool.
is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd love to. You could do a
Yeah, that's so
Spotify list
cool.
maybe
Oh,
at
yeah,
the
I would
back of
love
your
to.
book and say
Yeah.
these are the tunes I was listening to. You should
Yeah.
if you want to go through.
And these are the characters. Years ago, I wrote a book about an Elvis impersonator, and every chapter was an Elvis song, and that definitely, every single name of the chapter related to a song and what the content of that chapter.
Wow, that's great. Are you an Elvis fan as well?
I am. Well, I wasn't. I wasn't till I wrote that book. I was, but the book was about an Elvis impersonator. So
you got to get involved. You got to
Yeah.
get stuck in. Okay, we could go on, but we have to leave it for now. But in the meantime, you've lived in Botswana, you've lived in Italy, and you've lived in London. Where's the best coffee?
London.
not
Everything's best in
not
London.
Italy.
No, it was good, but they used to limit how in Italy, because I was in southern Italy and it was years ago, and they were very traditional. They didn't like it if a woman ordered a double espresso.
Really?
They wouldn't let you have it.
They say no.
Because we're little tiny things and
Oh
we
my
couldn't
goodness.
manage it.
That's-
I mean, that was a generation ago, so
yeah.
please, Italy, don't judge me by that now.
But it's very
it was
Italian.
true.
Very Italian. What are you talking about? The double espresso for the lady? No.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
First Wife Shadow in paperback, available now. It's your birthday. Happy birthday, Adele. See you very soon, I hope. Here's the red pen. There's your book. Sign away, please. And we'll
Thank
do it all
you.
again soon.
See you soon.
Virgin Radio.